black bonnet and an obsolete black coat with no seam in the whole of the voluminous back. That had been the style of outside garments when Miss Millet had laid aside dressmaking, and she had never gone a step further in fashions. She had stopped just where she was and treated her old patterns as conservatively as she did her Bible. She had had a pretty voice when she was young, people said, and she sang now in a thin, sweet quaver the hymns which the minister gave out. She listened in solemn enjoyment to the stereotyped prayers and the speaker's remarks. He was a dull, middle-aged preacher in a dull country town. After meeting, Anne went up and told him how much she had enjoyed his remarks and inquired after his wife and children. She always did. To her, a minister was an unpublished apostle, and his wife and family were set apart on the earth. No matter how dull a parson labored here, he would always have one disciple in this old woman. When Anne had walked home through the frosty starlight, she lit her lamp first, and then she called her cat. She had expected to find him waiting to be let in, but he was not. She stood out on the little piazza which ran along the rear corner of her house by the kitchen door and called, "Willie, Willie, Willie." She thought every minute she would see him come bounding around the corner, but she did not. She called over and over and over in her shrill, anxious pipe, "Willie, Willie, Willie, kitty, kitty, kitty." Finally she went into the house and waited a while, crouching, shivering with cold and nervousness, over the kitchen stove. Then she went outside and called again, "Willie, Willie, Willie." Over and over, waiting between the calls, trembling, her dull old ears alert, her dim old eyes strained. She ran out to the road and looked and called, and down to the dreary garden patch behind the house, among the withered corn stalks and the mouldering squash vines, all white with frost. Once her heart leaped. She thought she saw Willie coming, but it was only a black cat which belonged to one of the neighbors. Then she went into the house and waited a little while, then out again, calling shrilly, "Willie, Willie." There were northern lights streaking the sky. The stars shone steadily through the rosy glow, and it was very still and lonesome and cold. The little, thin, shivering old woman, standing outdoors, all alone in the rude, chilly night air, under these splendid stars and streaming lights, called over and over the poor little creature which was everything earthly that she had to keep her company in the great universe in which she herself was so small. "Willie, Willie, Willie," called Anne. "Oh, where is that cat? Oh, dear, Willie, Willie." She spent the night that way. Mrs. Stone's daughter, Ruth, who was up with the sick child, heard her. "Miss Millet must have lost her cat," she told her mother in the morning. "I heard her calling him all night long." Pretty soon, indeed, Anne came over, her small old face wild and wan. "Have you seen anything of Willie?" she asked. "He's been out all night, and I'm afraid something's happened to him. I never knowed him to stay out so before." When they told her they had not, she went on to the next neighbors to inquire. But no one had seen anything of the cat. All that day and night, at intervals, people heard her plaintive, inquiring call, "Willie, Willie, Willie, Willie." The next Sunday, Anne was not out at church. It was a beautiful day, too. "I'm going to run over and see if Anne Millet's sick," Mrs. Stone told her daughter when she returned from church. "She wasn't out to meeting today, and I'm afraid something's the matter. I never knew her to miss going." So she went over. Miss Millet was sitting in her little wooden rocking chair in her kitchen when she opened the door. "Why, Anne Millet, are you sick?" "No, I ain't sick." "You wasn't out to meeting, and I didn't know." "I ain't never going to meeting again." "Why, what do you mean?" Mrs. Stone dropped into a chair and stared at her neighbor. "I mean just what I say. I ain't never going to meetin' again. Folks go to meetin' to thank the Lord for blessin's, I s'pose. I've lost mine, and I ain't going." "What have you lost, Anne?" "Ain't I lost Willie?" "You don't mean to say you're making such a fuss as this over a cat?" Mrs. Stone could make a good deal of disapprobation and contempt manifest in her pale, high-featured face, and she did now. "Yes, I do." "Well, I ain't nothing agin cats, but I must say I'm beat. Why, Ann Millett, it's downright sinful of you to feel so. Of course you set a good deal by Willie, but it ain't as if he was a human creature. Cats is cats. For my part, I never thought it was right to set by animals as if they was babies." "I can't hear what you say." "I never thought it was right to set by animals as if they was babies." "I don't care. It's comforting to have live creatures about you, and I ain't never had anything like other women. I ain't had no folks of my own since I can remember. I worked hard all my life and had nothing at all to love, and I've thought I ought to be thankful all the same, but I did want as much as a cat." "Well, as I said before, I've nothing agin cats, but I don't understand any human being with an immortal soul a setting so much by one." "I can't hear what you say." Anne could usually hear Mrs. Stone's high voice without difficulty, but today she seemed to defer. "I don't understand any human being with an immortal soul a setting so much by a cat." "You got folks, Miss Stone." "I know I have, but folks is trials sometimes. Not that my children are, though. I've got a good deal to be thankful for, I'll own, in that way. But, Ann Millett, I didn't think you was one to sink down so under any trial. I thought the Lord would be a comfort to you." "I know all that, Miss Stone, but when it comes to it, I'm here, and I ain't there, and I've got hands, and I want something I can touch." Then the poor soul broke down and sobbed out loud like a baby. "I ain't never felt as if I ought to begrudge other women in their homes and their folks. I thought perhaps I could get along better without 'em than some, and the Lord knowed it. And seeing there wasn't enough to go round, he gave 'em to them that needed 'em most. I ain't never felt as if I ought to complain, but there was cats enough. I might have had that much." "You could get another cat, Anne. Miss Maxwell's got some real smart kittens, and I know she wants to get rid of 'em." "I don't want any of Miss Maxwell's kittens. I don't never want any other cat." "Perhaps your'n will come back. Now, don't take on so." "What?" "Perhaps your'n will come back." "No, he won't. I'll never see him again. I've felt just that way about it from the first. Somebody stole him, or he's been poisoned and crawled away and died, or he's been shot for his fur. I hear there was a boy over the river making a cat skin carriage blanket. And I went over there and asked him, and he said he had never shot a cat like Willie. But I don't know. Boys ain't brought up any too strict. I hope he spoke the truth." "Hark, I declare I thought I heard a cat mew somewhere, but I guess I didn't. I don't hear it now. Well, I am sorry, Anne. I suppose I've got to go. That's dinner to get, and the baby considerably fretty today. Why, Ann Millett, where's your squashes?" "What?" "Where are your squashes?" "I throwed 'em away, out in the field. Willie can't have none of 'em now, and I don't care about 'em myself." Mrs. Stone looked at her in horror. When she got home she told her daughter that Ann Millett